Well, in many respects, this is normally my favourite part of the year when it comes to a long term football manager save. A chance to step back, take a breath, and take stock of where we are and how we've progressed. And also a chance to look at the areas of the game that I love, that I spend so many hours using, but never really get to talk about in the standard daily episodes. So you'll find over this story in the end of season reviews, we will cover different areas such as tactics, transfers, recruitment. We'll have a look at training and other elements as well. But today we've got quite a simple one planned because after our first season, Rhyl 1879 have secured promotion to the top tier of Welsh football. And hopefully, providing next year doesn't go wrong, it will be the only promotion we have in this save. So it's a rare chance for us to have a look at what we're going to do with a change of league. We're going to head through the squad planner, look in detail at how we're going to prepare our squad for next season, any tactical tweaks we may want to make to the squad, what impact a takeover could have during the summer transfer window. And of course, we'll go and have a look at the Welsh Premier League to see how the top tier has progressed in the first year without us, as well as seeing which teams from the south will be joining us and our fellow promoted sides from the north in the top tier next year. Yes, hello and welcome along to part 11 and a season 1 review from this FM26 Build a Nation story, a Rhyl rebuild with me, Daniel. We have ticked off the first objective of this save. We've taken advantage of the 2 extra promotion spots in the first season and got ourselves into the top tier. And what's more, on the final day of the season, by the odd goal, we managed to nick the title too. Today, as we mentioned a little bit earlier on in our introduction, we're going to take a detailed look at the squad planner and how our squad is shaping up for next season. We're going to look at areas to improve, any tactical tweaks we may want to make, and of course discuss our aims for next year, depending on who else will be joining us in the Welsh Premier League. If you like the sound of that and future season reviews to come, then please do chuck a thumbs up on the video as always. And don't forget, we will be back at the same time tomorrow for our summer transfer special and our first game in the top tier. It's going to be a brilliant day, but we've got to cover some of the bases first and set the foundations for what's going to be a pretty interesting summer ahead. We're going to go straight in to the main area and the main focus today, which is, of course, the squad planner. So let's go over and look at how it stands at the minute, as we've just been asked to set it up for next season. And this, when we move on to the future campaign, is where we see a number of potential holes in the squad. Now, of course, using the next season squad planner means that you will not see all of the people who are out of contract, whose loans are expiring, or who won't be at the club next campaign. And you can see in some areas of this squad, we're very good. We've got a lot of depth. We've gradually added to it throughout the season. And we've obviously had a bit of luck with the youth intake and things as well. But overall, there are some very clear areas where we're weaker. And the reasons for that will become clear. Now, I should cover a couple of things very quickly before we go into this, because you can immediately see there's no goalkeepers, which means there will be recruitment this summer. But one of the things regulars on this channel will know, and those of you who are new along will come to find out, is that I'm a very loyal manager when it comes to FM. If anything, a little bit too loyal to the players I have. I don't often just throw people into the distance. We try and keep as many involved and reward them for success as possible, as you potentially would in a real footballing world. And I guess given the story of my real football club, Luton Town, over a 10-year period, there were a lot of players who went through the divisions and to the top, which is always a dream scenario as a football fan. So that is something that's put a bit of an imprint on my style, whether I like it or not. But there is no doubt that this summer, there is going to have to be recruitment at this football club. Now, in an ideal world, you can see where all the weaknesses are in the squad there. They're basically the positions where we've got loan players at the minute, and then right back where we've just lost our backup Kieran Baker with a week of the season to go. Aside from that, I don't have that much to improve. And if it was just a normal scenario, I would probably say, do you know what? Let's get the 4 loan players back and crack on. But at the moment, none of them are willing to discuss terms with us. So unless that changes in the future, for now, we have got a little bit of a problem. So let's have a look at the squad and how it stands for next season at the moment. There are no goalkeepers currently here. We've just lost one of our backups. Swindle is going to be leaving at the end of his contract, and Spinelli has a loan that expires soon, although he is out of contract, so hopefully, like a couple of the others, we may be able to get him in. At right back, we've got one starter essentially. We've got another player who can cover there, but he's also a regular starter in midfield at the minute, so may leave us in a difficult position. if we end up with a bit of an injury crisis. And I'm expecting at the top level we're going to get more this year. Don't forget last time we were in Wales, it was a 32-game league season. Next year it's going to be 35 with a 16-team top tier, a league split that extends the season, and a couple of cups as well. So we are going to have to be a little bit more careful with the size of squad we carry and the depth of it too. So having just one right back is probably not the solution. The rest of the defence though, I'm fairly happy with. And again, you can let me know if you disagree at any point along here. I don't think we need to make any other additions because I'm really happy with Senior and Ali as my two starting centre halves. In Fisher and Bissix, we've got two good subs and players that can stay here. But you've got to bear in mind that Fisher in particular is currently on non-contract terms, and those people are starting to attract interest. So we're going to have to get some contractual stuff done soon. We'll discuss the wage budgets and recruitment in a minute. Left back is absolutely fine as well. In Davis and Muscat, we've got two solid players. Bissix can cover it as well. Again, note Davis, one of those on pay-as-you-play terms, which given the wages next year, we may not need. So hopefully we can get him tied down permanently. Into midfield, and this is where we start to have our concerns, because I think the defence is certainly the stronghold of the team. In midfield at the moment, we've got Dakin and Howard. Now, Dakin's loan expires at the end of the year, and as it stands, he's got no interest in joining us, despite being out of contract at his club. But then he's on 450 quid a week, which we can't afford. There are a few other decent squad players who I'm very happy to keep on, the likes of Brony Phillips, Lightfoot, both decent players, and Hayes obviously on the staff, so he's going to be here anyway. But I think it's probably the first outfield position we're looking at and saying we definitely need an upgrade, because I don't think that Brony Phillips or Lightfoot are going to be starters in a team that survives comfortably. So alongside Howard, I do think we need another. But then I'm happy with the rest of the backups and the depth. Where we don't have quite so much depth is attacking midfield. Now, this is where I've got my first decision to make next year, because we've got Lafondra and Coanda, who are both good left-sided players, both in a natural position. Coanda has been a superstar this year. He's outperformed all expectation, but he is over 30. He is starting to get injuries. So we do have to be a little bit concerned about how he's going to fare moving forward. We then bear in mind that at the moment, Lafondra is our only player over on the right-hand side because Lowry Matondo's out of contract and his loan ends. Same for Corey Evans, who can cover there as well. And that leaves us a little bit short both there and in the number 10 position, where Jack Parry will then be the only one remaining. Up front, we've had a little bit of luck because obviously Hamza Ahmed has come through. At the moment, Aylman is still on the books as a third-choice striker. Havard won't be staying because he wants too much money and we can't afford it. But we've got enough there to compete. And if Seb Bolton can stay fit next year, I really trust him to do a decent job. But there's no doubt looking at this team at the moment, there are 3 or 4 areas we're going to need a first teamer. Whether it's one winger, a goalkeeper and a number 10 and that holding midfielder. Basically the areas we've got players on loan now. And then maybe 2 or 3 more squad ones. But one of the things I wanted to really highlight here was my determination to give the core of this squad a chance. So much of it has done so well. Seb Bolton, one of the top scorers in the league, despite missing 2 months. The 2 centre-halves have been rock solid. The left-backs have been fine. The right-back's been all right. I don't feel the need to make big wholesale changes. So I would probably expect this summer to see 6, 7 or 8 players come in because we're going to need a couple of keepers. I'd like in an ideal world 2 or 3 of those signings to be players we have on loan at the minute, but I don't see how that happens for now. So if not, we're probably forced into a bit more recruitment than we like. I want to keep it fairly settled. And that core of the team, with the centre-halves, with a centre-forward, with one of the holding mids, a couple of the full-backs, I want it to be solid. I want it to be steady. And I feel we can achieve that at the moment. It does lead us on to contracts and the situation we've got there, because over the last few weeks, we have been doing a lot of work on the contractual front to get people tied down. And if you have a look at the situation now, you can see that over half of this squad is tied down for the medium to long term. Muscat has been offered a longer deal anyway. Don't know why he's the only one who could sign a longer one from the start. Hamza Ahmed is now tied down on a 3-year youth deal. And then loads of others are tied down for next season. It's probably easier to cover the ones that aren't. And maybe that sort of shows how far we've come this year, because one of them is Rocco Hewitt, who started the season, the very first game, as our first choice centre midfielder alongside Lightfoot. Lightfoot is now our 4th choice. Rocco Hewitt now absolutely nowhere near being involved, and he will move on. But that shows the progress we've been making. You've obviously got those 4 loan players that will leave a hole in the squad, and we know Havard's going, but through the youth intake, we've already had a replacement there. The rest of this squad, though, is basically tied down. And to have that core of 13, 14, 15 players that have all signed deals for next year, none of them on ridiculous wages. Lafondra, obviously, as a magical winger, has asked for a bit more, but 240 quid for him. Everyone else, well under £200 a week. I feel like we've got a good squad with a little bit of money left. And the reason for that, if we can get a couple of those tied down to part-time deals as well, is the recruitment budget we've been given after promotion. Because if we have a look at where we are now, the wage budget available sits at almost £2,000 because our wage bill has been up from £2,500 a week to £4,500 a week. And that is going to make a big difference. Now, there are a few players that we signed to new deals earlier in the year who will have a 10 or 20% promotion wage rise. But even then, we're talking 10s, 20 quids a week. From this wage bill as it stands, it's only going to go up by about £100. So we're going to have a lot to work with. We're going to be able to carry a slightly bigger squad. And we're hopefully going to be able to carry a squad of all permanent players. And not many are going to be here on pay-as-you-play deals, which does take that risk. We saw it in the deadline day last August. All of those players getting poached at the end. And then that little trolley dash we had to go on to try and get players to fill the squad, which, yes, has worked out eventually, but did cause a little bit of unnecessary stress. And at the top level, we won't be able to afford to chop and change like that. So for now, my thinking is keep things as settled as possible, keep most of this squad tied down, and try and improve as the season goes on next year. Now, my normal strategy when I get a promotion is to be loyal, but also then to wait a little bit longer, because what you see, unless you're at the very top level, when you're at the level we are here, lower levels of England, Scotland, etc., you're normally seeing a lot of players become free agents who are either just out of your range financially, waiting for a slightly bigger reputation club or a bigger offer to come, or feel they can do slightly better than you. And as a result, they either won't discuss terms or they want unrealistic terms to join your club. Now, what I'd normally do is then wait until partway through the year and try and gradually improve as the top talents become available, and then get a big upgrade in a position rather than having a stopgap one in the summer and then not having the money left to get that big one in November, December when they become available. So my plan is to leave a good chunk of the wage budget free to be able to do that, because I still trust that what we've got may be able to help us survive next year. There is, though, an added problem to this, which of course we've seen pop up a few times during the season, and it's something that gravely concerns me here. And that, of course, is the situation with the boardroom at the minute. Because while it doesn't look particularly exciting from here, one of the things we've seen a lot this season is this man suggesting that he's willing to sell the club. And there's a few times that I've panicked and thought there might be a transfer embargo. But given that we're getting promoted to the top tier, and I've seen from one of the recent messages, Mould Alex are in the same position as well. If we get a transfer embargo that lasts any length for the summer, we could be in big trouble at the start of the season, depending on the timing, because as you've seen, we don't have a senior goalkeeper on the books next season. We only have 3 players across the whole of attacking midfield for the 3 positions. We have not got any depth whatsoever in certain areas. So we have got to try and go against my usual policy now and get a few signings wrapped up really early. So we're going to get incredibly busy on the recruitment focuses, not across all the areas I'd like to maybe get an upgrade, but certainly the ones where we've got no players or no depth, just to get someone secured and pre-agreed for July or get a loan in, because I feel like we need to have at least the core of the squad together before a potential embargo and a potential takeover, again, just to take away unnecessary stress off the pitch towards the start of next season. Now, the final thing on the squad and the plans for next season is tactics, because again, I'm someone who's fairly stable. I don't make too many big changes. I don't adjust everything every few games. Apologies if you're watching my stream save and you wonder what on earth I'm on about there. But if we go and have a look at the tactics at the moment, there is one tweak that I'm considering based on the way we played this year. And I guess it's subject to who's available. So from the recruitment we've looked at in the sort of summer months and during the January window this year, getting inverted wingers has been a little bit difficult at this level. And generally, they're the players that want a bit more money. Now, given that I don't know Kwanda's going to be good enough out there or capable enough physically of doing a whole year, I do feel that I need to go to Lafondra on the left-hand side as such. What that will mean is that we will have no right wingers in the squad. We'll just have a starter and a backup on the left. So I'm kind of toying with the idea because I feel we're going to need a bit more protection for the defence next year, and because I kind of feel that it works better in terms of the service for the striker and potentially a number 10 we'll have, is to go to 2 traditional wingers like such. Now, I'm still 50-50 on this, and it will depend on what's available. There is a strong part of me that thinks actually just going for two wingers gives us that little bit more solidity when it comes to defending. As a team that won't be favourites in a top tier, we're expected to be a top four finish this year. I'd expect us to be in the bottom half next time around, or certainly for the expectation to be that. Will two traditional wingers just give us a little bit more stability, a little bit more consistency in wide areas, and allow players to get back a bit more, as well as getting as much service as possible to Bolton and the two supporting midfielders, who can hopefully then pop up with a few goals. I'd be interested to get your thoughts on that, particularly if you've used both across your saves and see which ones you found more effective. But given how well Kawanda overperformed this year, I feel it's something that's worth a go if we can't get another loanee in like Lowry Matondo, which it doesn't look possible at the minute. So that's, in a nutshell, my plans for next season with Rhyl, and that is how I use the squad planner combined with the tactics, combined with the recruitment focuses, which I'm not going to show too much because I've shown them a lot this year, particularly in the streams as well. But we're going to go to the transfer room in. You can see I've already had one for a target man. That's from January when we were having that problem with Bolton. We're going to create requirements and set up for that. And as a result, we will this time probably look at a right winger who, in possession, can be someone who's a natural winger and work like that. But of course, as long as we can get a solid squad in to add to these players, I hope that the aim for next year is not just survival, but comfortable progression. But of course, as long as we stay out of that bottom 2 or 3 after the playoffs, then I'm a very happy man. I just need to stay in the top tier and not have to win promotion again when it goes back down to 1 slot from next year in the JD North. But we're going up to the top tier. We've already had a little glimpse into how the nation's going this season because we played TNS in the Cup. Very fortunate timing because it was between Europa Conference League games, which let us know that they'd made it to the group stages. But let's see how the first Welsh domestic season has gone and what we're going to be joining next season, as well as finding out what teams have come up from the south to join us, Mould Alex and Newtown. So here we go. This is how it looks at the moment. TNS, of course, comfortable league winners, despite the fact they were in the Conference League group stages in the first half of the year. A 12-point cushion, a big gap to Connors Key, who are comfortably second as well. Really does bode well. We talked about it in the FM21 save we did in Wales. The fact that TNS dropped off and there wasn't consistency at the top of the table meant the Welsh coefficient really suffered, whereas TNS making the group stages this year and hopefully again next time as well make a massive difference to this save. Connors Key, Colwyn Bay and Penny Bont, not really a shock that those guys are up at the top of the table. Connors Key Nomads have won the Cup as well. And I think Colwyn Bay will get the next slot and then it's down to the European playoff. But of course, the format for that will change next year when this becomes a 16-team league as well. No surprises at the bottom that Britain Ferry have come down. Llanelli have also been relegated, who used to be one of the bigger sides in the division, but have yo-yoed a bit in recent years. Carnarvon down there as well, having been in Europe a couple of years ago. I mean, there are a lot of very evenly matched sides there. You can see from the league split at the moment, it was very tight between those three for relegation. Maybe a surprise with Haverfordwest. What we really need is some of the other sides to recruit well and start progressing as well, but that hasn't looked like happening as of yet. Of course, in addition to what's happening in the Welsh Premier League for this season only, we've got to have a look at the JD South as well and find out which 3 teams are joining us. And much like the league we were in last year, a little bit of a surprise. All of the 3 favourites in pre-season missed out, Carmarthen, Aberystwyth and Afan Lido. The latter almost ending up in a relegation battle. And Cambrian United and Carew Ely are joining Pontypridd United in the top tier. Apologies for my butchering pronunciations. But Pontypridd, probably the biggest of the 3 to come up, one with recent top tier experience. But certainly a few surprises there. And interestingly, our points total would not have been enough to win the league in that one. Let's go and have a look at the new Saints in a bit more detail though, because one of the things that's really impressed me this season is the fact that a lot of clubs have set up partnerships with second tier teams, which will hopefully help with the progression of the nation, but also the transfers. We talked about it here, but they're not the only club. A lot of recruitment from EFL teams, a couple of familiar names, Ollie Coker from our FM24 Southend save as well. But a lot of players coming in from Premier League and EFL clubs, direct transfers from those levels, and even some of the other sides in the nation. So Penny Bont, for example, a loan from Arsenal, a loan from Leicester. They're clubs that are really starting to aim higher when it comes to recruitment. And there's also a lot more transfers between the sides. So often in these saves, you would see players released and then just sort of end up retiring after 6 months. They they were too big to go to North and South clubs, but they didn't then want to go and play elsewhere or weren't able to get contracts at clubs that were good enough to keep them in the game. So it's great from the nation point of view that there are a lot more now going to the second tier, either on loan or permanently, and progressing their career for the long term. So I'm really encouraged by what I've seen so far on that front. And it's something that in these end of season specials, we will very much keep an eye on, as is the place we're going to finish today's episode, which for those of you who have been here before will know exactly what it's going to be. And that word, it starts with C. It's coefficient. It always is. Now, the club coefficient screen is not quite as detailed in this year's game, and it only actually updates at the end of the season, which is a bit annoying. So we can't see how it's going to progress yet. I'm going to have to almost reflect on it at the start of seasons as well. But I want to give us a bit of a progress report of where Wales are at the start of the save, which is what you're seeing here. Because despite the fact that they did better last year because of TNS's progress into the Conference League groups, something they've replicated in the first season in this FM save, there are, of course, other smaller nations that are in a similar boat, where teams from their leagues have popped into the Europa Conference League and got themselves a decent coefficient. So it's going to be something that's important to keep an eye on. But in truth, the quicker we can get to that sort of fourth, third spot in the league, and maybe or go and win a cup, and then be the supporting act for TNS and try and get through a round or two, it really will make a difference to Welsh football. So these are screens we're going to see a lot later on in the save. But at the moment, obviously we're not getting the updates because it doesn't go through until the end of the season now, rather than being a live update screen, which is obviously a little bit awkward for this save, but it's something we will keep an eye on as it progresses. But that's my Season 1 review, a bit of a gentler one at Rhyl 1879. I'll finish on the home screen where you can see that 4 of our players were selected in the team of the season. Mo Ali, Seb Bolton, Lowry Matondo as well was in there. In fact, I think it was only 3. I'm getting ahead of myself. But 2 of those, of course, part of the core of the squad that will be with us next season. Super Harry Dakin got Goal of the Year. We're going to congratulate him on that award. And probably the last time we speak to him before he leaves the club. I just hope he becomes a free agent and then wants to join us. But overall, a really brilliant first year for us. If we go and have a look at the club site, there's a lot of work we've got to do. Behind my head are the facilities, which at the moment are not particularly good. Poor training facilities, poor youth facilities, basic on the academy and youth recruitment. But that's all for later down the line. Financially, until we get into Europe, we can't worry about anything on that side. We built our coaching team last year, so really in the backroom staff, bar the assistant manager who's out of contract, there won't be any changes next year. We'll try and get an extra coach into the club if we're allowed, but whether or not we can, with ourselves in a negative financial balance at the moment, it's going to be a different question. It is something that for the first time when we get into Europe, we will go and have a look at. It's just the club finances, because while it's not great at the minute, there's not an awful lot to reflect on, and the sums are so small, it's not really worth talking about. For now, though, if you did enjoy this first season review, my look at the squad planner and my plans for what to do with this team after promotion, and please do put a thumbs up on it. Let me know if you agree with the areas to improve. Are you like me? Do you like stability? Do you give people a chance at the next level? Or do you just go all out and sign the best you can get? I'm intrigued to see the difference of opinion between everyone in the comments for this one. We will have different season reviews later down the line, and some of them when we get to exciting youth intakes, big financial milestones, when we get to those sorts of things, it can get more exciting. And we'll also use it to look at certain areas of the game, like recruitment and like training as well. But for now, if you want to stay up to date with what will be a huge episode tomorrow and so much more across the channel, and please do subscribe and turn that notification bell on. Tomorrow we will start our second season of this save, our first game in the top tier. Rhyl 1879 are back and trying to do what their predecessors did. And we'll also have a summer transfer special with plenty of new players, I'm sure, coming into the club, unless a takeover tries to ruin that. This series will continue every weekday at 4:30. Our live streams continue daily on Twitch with the link in the eye above. And thank you for the support with the weekend specials on this channel, which will continue every Saturday and Sunday, with our new Sunday series starting soon as well. But a big thanks for watching and following Season 1. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as me. I'm absolutely loving this save. I cannot wait to get through the summer and see what squad we've got at the start of Season 2. I'll be back tomorrow to find out the answer with you. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you there.